everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I thought I would do the 26 random questions book tag. Now I saw this on Hannah's books, and though she didn't officially tag me, I thought it's fairly obvious from my videos the kinds of books that I enjoy. But since I've gained so many new subscribers recently, I thought that I would give you a little bit of insight into me as a person. So the first question is, what was your most recent YouTube rabbit hole? I honestly don't know. Apart from BookTube and catching up on old videos and trying to find some new creators to support as well, I think my other usual go-to, which you could call a rabbit hole, has been the search for new cute animal videos. Sweet animal videos are my go-to comfort watch, especially early in the morning before I leave for work, or late at night right before I go to bed. So I guess you could call that a rabbit hole. Number 2, what song is currently stuck in your head? This changes almost on an hourly basis, but right now I would say, I now forget the title, I think it's They Can't Take That Away From Me, because it is used in the Rumpole audiobooks as transitionary music. And so I now have that tune running through my head because I've just been listening to one of the Rumpole audiobooks. Number 3, what kind of music do you listen to the most? My music taste is very wide and varied, as you will have discovered if you watched all the way to the end of my Stamping My Books video. I have a burgeoning collection of classical music now, mainly opera, but some instrumental as well. I have a lot of Broadway musical soundtracks, a lot of Celtic music, a lot of country music from my teens and early 20s, so definitely pre-2015. A lot of classic rock, a lot of alternative rock, some pop, mainly British pop, and some Spanish language music. Number 4, what is something you need to get better at? I need to improve in a lot of ways, and I think everyone feels like that about themselves. But I think my biggest improvement at the moment needs to be to find ways to stop catastrophizing. Yeah, I'm really good at catastrophizing, and I really need to learn how to curb that. Number 5, do you set goals? What are your goals for the end of this year, or indeed next year? Honestly, aside from entertainment-based goals, like my reading goals, or this year I have my watching films goals, apart from that, I don't really tend to set goals for myself. I sometimes do in terms of exercise, just because I can get so busy that I forget to do my yoga, and that's proving really helpful in a number of ways, so I need to get on that. But apart from that, I really don't set goals for myself, mainly because my job is so unpredictable. There's not really opportunity for advancement. There's no corporate ladder for me to climb, and I definitely never want to be an administrator. So really doing the whole where do you see yourself in 5 years thing doesn't really work for me. So aside from personal improvement goals, I really don't tend to set goals for myself. Number 6, when was the last time you lost your temper? I don't do this often, but whenever I do, it's usually over something very small and trivial, but as a consequence of larger things that I have tamped down and have built up over the last couple of weeks or months. And then I feel really stupid, and that just compounds the issue, and it's just terrible all around. Number 7, do you swear too much? Honestly, yes I do. I know that may come as a surprise because I try to keep things pretty clean here, and I mean obviously I have to know my audience, and professionally I try not to swear much either, But among people that I love and that I trust, I can swear like a sailor. And honestly, given the state of the world right now, that seems like a fairly reasonable thing to do. Number 8, do you spend too much money on shoes? Not really. If I need a bit of retail therapy, it's usually on clothing or books. Number 9, what is the worst book you have ever read? I started to feel really badly about answering this question until I remembered a book that I read in my college days. If my friends and I had some time between classes or between lunch and our next class, we loved to play a game where we went to the campus bookstore and tried to find the worst, the most ludicrous paperback romance that we could on the shelves. And the one that we found was Savage Nature by Christine Feehan, better known as the Shape-Shifting Leopard People series. It involves a murder mystery, and a detective comes to town, and this young woman is terrified because the murder victim seems to have been killed by a large cat in the Louisiana bayou. And she is terrified because her father and her brothers are all shape-shifting leopard people. But of course she has a romantic attraction to this new detective. And it just gets more ludicrous from there. And we found a copy in the Take a Book, Leave a Book, and we would spend our Friday nights reading it aloud to each other and just tearing it to shreds. It was honestly a lot of fun. Number 10, are you a homebody or are you more adventurous? I'm honestly of two minds about this. Right now, I am definitely more of a homebody. Pre-pandemic, I used to be more adventurous, and I loved traveling. I was even okay with taking trips by myself. But lately, now that we are still in a pandemic and have hopefully gone through the worst of it, and since I have discovered a whole bunch of new food allergies, staying at home does make my life a lot safer and easier. Number 11, do you take naps? I honestly don't usually, but I have fallen asleep for short intervals a couple of nights this week, and it's kind of freaked me out a little bit because usually that presages me getting sick. But a 20-minute nap surely does not mean that. I really have to talk myself out of that. See what I mean? I'm really good at catastrophizing. Number 12, have you ever been to Minnesota, which the creator called the greatest state in the Union? I have not been to Minnesota, but I did grow up listening to the Prairie Home Companion radio show on NPR, which was broadcast from St. Paul, Minnesota, every Saturday night. Number 13, have you tried to emulate someone? I don't think I have. I have been quite similar to people in my family, but I don't think I've ever intentionally tried to emulate any of them. Or indeed anyone else. Number 14, what is the worst food you've ever eaten? I was really struggling with this one as well until I remembered two things. And I'm going to go with the least offensive of the two, which is when my family and I went to Italy when I was 16. It was our first night in Venice. We were still very jet lagged. We found a nice little restaurant to have dinner, and the old man who was in charge of the restaurant took a real shine to my grandmother. And so in order to try and, butter her up a little bit, he brought us all glasses of limoncello, which we tried. I took a sip. I know, but I was with 3 grown adults, and it was a sip. And honestly, I did not want more than that. It was so disgusting. It was viscous. It was oily. It felt like lemon-flavored motor oil. It was just so gross. And the 3 of us, my parents and I, just looked at each other going, oh God, no. My grandmother quite liked it. Of course, the dementia was also setting in, so that might explain some of it. Number 15 says, do you enjoy bars? What kind? And have you ever been a regular at one? I don't enjoy bars per se because I really don't drink that much, but I was a regular at a pub in New York for many years. It was the Cock and Bull Pub, and it was perfect. It was right in the middle of the theater district, so it was really easy access, and the staff were always lovely, and they had the single best fish and chips I have ever eaten. They were really accommodating about my allergies towards the end. They were just a fantastic restaurant, and all of the staff did recognize us each and every time I would come in, which is incredible because I didn't go that often. It's not like I was going in every week. Unfortunately, it now has closed post-pandemic, which is so sad, but I hope they do open a new location in the future because they were wonderful and I really miss them. Number 16, have you ever been hungover? And I have to say, never. I rarely drink, as I mentioned, and when I do, it's never to excess. Mainly because I'm a real lightweight and I can only handle one. Number 17, when was the last time you laughed out loud while you were reading? And I have to say it's quite seldom. I think the last time I laughed out loud while reading a book, rather than, say, a meme on Instagram, was right before the pandemic. My friend and I had gone into the opera, and we were on the train home, and I was reading Very Good Jeeves? It was one of the Jeeves books. I think it was book number 10. And some of his phrases just made me laugh out loud, such that I ended up reading them out loud to Veronica on the train because she was desperate to know what I was laughing about. Number 18, how would you label yourself politically? I am definitely a liberal Democrat, but I am also willing to hear well-reasoned arguments from anyone else, wherever you happen to fall on the political spectrum. And honestly, I think that's the way government should work, and that's what we need to get to in order to achieve any kind of forward motion. Number 19, what was the last movie that you watched? And the last full-length film that I watched was actually Friday night, in an effort to watch some of the films off my list, which I made a video about. I watched the new adaptation of Rebecca, starring Lily James and Armie Hammer. Unfortunately, I didn't like it very much, but that is the most recent one that I watched. Number 20, do you have kids? Do you want kids? And if you have kids, give a piece of advice. I do not have children. I am not married. I am not seeing anyone. And honestly, I don't know if I want children. And here's the reason why. I have a condition that might make it difficult for me to have children. I may end up being able to have them on my own, which would be wonderful. Or I may have to look into fertility options or adoption. And I feel like those are quite big things where I would want my husband to also be involved, because it would also depend on our financial situation. Could we afford any of those options? And given that I am still single, I am no further forward with those questions. Number 21, do you get along with your siblings? Well, I'm an only child, so I can't really answer this question, but I love my friends like family, and I am fiercely protective of other only children. If anyone says one more thing about how only children are selfish, they've got another thing coming. They've got a tirade from me. Number 22, what is a book that you have serious issues with, but love anyway? This is another one that's really, really tough. I mean, I guess I could say any of Shakespeare's problem plays, because those are, ironically, some of my favorites. Ones like The Merchant of Venice, or Othello, or Measure for Measure. I love those plays because they are so thorny and they are so multifaceted. You can examine them from so many different angles. I think that's what makes them brilliant. And I think it's how you deal with the questions of sexual justice or race in your particular production that determines whether or not those issues are in fact a problem within the play. Number 23, what is your favorite theme song to a movie or TV show? Here again, I'm hard pressed. I do love it when movies or TV shows have proper theme songs, because that is something I love about watching older television shows, that modern TV shows just don't have individual theme songs anymore. I guess I would have to say, among some of my favorites, the ones that are coming to mind right now are Where You Lead from Gilmore Girls, which I am proud to say I knew and loved before I started watching Gilmore Girls. Thank you to my parents for letting me raid their record collection. And I also love the theme song for Laverne and Shirley, Doing It Our Way. I think that is such a sweet number, and it describes that show perfectly. Number 24. Do you like your job? And if you switched careers, what would you do? Ooh, is this a loaded question right now? There are things about teaching that I love and I adore. But the past year and a half has really made me question my career choices and the future of the world generally. I hope my outlook gets better, but I have also seriously Googled how to make money as a book reviewer. Unfortunately, I haven't found very promising answers, so if you have more information about that, let me know. Question number 25, what is something that you love about the city that you live in? And honestly, I love a lot about where I live, but I think I love it because it's very much like Stars Hollow. Gilmore Girls is meant to be set in this corner of Connecticut, and honestly, I think my hometown is much more similar to Stars Hollow than Washington Depot, which supposedly inspired Amy Sherman Palladino. I love it. It's a very small town. It's easily walkable. There is an actual downtown center. We have 3 or 4 different bookstores in among the other independent shops and restaurants and a variety of kinds of churches. We've got a lot of history here that is very well preserved. We have our own independent supermarket that is just utterly accommodating, and the people who run it are just wonderful. And our schools are very good. I just love it here. It's very quiet, it's very calm, but I'm also still very close to New York and other cultural centers. So I can't say I would change very much about where I live. And number 26, who is your celebrity crush? Up until now, I would have said that Tom Hiddleston and I are perfect for each other. He just doesn't know who I am. Unfortunately, he just recently got engaged, so I've been very depressed all weekend. Although I suppose James McAvoy is now single. He could be a contender now. I don't know. So there you have it. There's some further insight into my life and my personality. Let me know down below if you have any suggestions or comments for me, or if you would also like to do this tag. Link your video in the comments down below so I can go and watch and find out some more about you as well. Until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.